Good morning. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Megan Hansen, and I serve in the state legislature, representing the people of House District 80. As we put 2017 behind us, it's important to reflect on the challenges our state and nation have faced and how we as legislators may be responsive to those problems. In the past year, we have seen a resurgence of tribal, group-based animosities that characterized this country decades ago, where crimes and violence against individuals are motivated solely by group membership, their race, religion, ethnicity, gender, or sexual orientation. However, the meaning of being an American is that we are all unique individuals, not some members of predefined caste or group identity. Attacks motivated by hate for a group are so heinous, so harmful, and so distinct from typical crimes that they exist not only to harm the individual target of that crime, but to also create fear and oppress the entire community to which that individual belongs. We have seen a rise in these attacks nationally, where hate and anger for a group over a difference in identity and beliefs motivates an attacker. In recent months, we've seen such attacks in New York, Texas, Virginia, and we've also seen them right here in Georgia, from bomb threats to our Jewish community centers and schools, to the twisted racist attack on an 8-year-old's birthday party in Douglasville. These types of events occur far too often in our community, perhaps in the form of vandalism against a neighbor because of their race, or a violent threat made online against someone with a disability, or an attack on a transgender student in our school. The motivation for these attacks is often nothing more than the fear and insecurity of the perpetrator. After all, hate is born of fear. But America is not a fearful society. It is a bold and brave society, not enslaved by our insecurities or our prejudices. It is a safe haven that so many before us sought in coming to this country, where they came to be free, not to be judged and labeled as groups. It is a place where those prejudices of old societies and fears of group persecutions fade away in the unassailable principle of individual liberty. It is the ideal that gave birth to America, but it is also an ideal that has been imperfectly applied, and that is why we must diligently strive to advance in the face of hate and oppression. This legislation is not, nor has it intended to be, an attack on any individual's freedom of speech. Indeed, this bill is about protecting and preserving individual liberty when the freedom of the individual is under assault by violence or threat of violence by a hate crime. Freedom of speech does not, nor has it ever, included the freedom to threaten. Hate crimes seek to stifle, limit, and enslave others, and cowering them into a position of submission so that they might not pursue their rights of freedom of speech to express their beliefs or pursuit of happiness. The freedom of individuals to do and say what they wish should be protected by and secured by the government, so long as it does not harm the liberty of others. As Justice Clarence Thomas put it, just as one cannot burn down someone's house to make a political point and then seek refuge in the First Amendment, those who hate cannot terrorize and intimidate to make their point. To this end, the bill provides prosecutors with the tools to combat these offenses that are intended to harm the liberty of others. This bill does not only provide Georgia with the hate crime legislation necessary to appropriately and proportionately punish crimes committed, but also provides our law enforcement officers with the training and guidance needed to combat and investigate crimes of hate. Only 6 police agencies statewide reported any hate crimes in 2016. While perhaps not all districts experience a hate crime in their jurisdiction, this legislation provides clarity for our law enforcement officers, leading to consistency in reporting and treatment for the entire state to protect all Georgia citizens in a fair and equitable manner. What makes this country great is not any one identity, belief, or affiliation. It is the freedom of each individual to pursue their livelihoods regardless of their backgrounds, the treatment of others equally without consideration for group identity. That is what makes America great. And with this legislation, Georgia will join the vast majority of states in this country prosecuting crimes motivated by hate with the intent to threaten groups of our citizens with the gravity and attention that they deserve. We're going to have a few other speakers, and the next one will be Allison Padilla-Goodman of ADL. Following her, Ms. Padilla-Goodman will be Fawny Willis, who is a prosecutor with the Fulton County DA's office. And then we'll have Chief Louis Deckmar of LaGrange.
Good morning. My name is Allison Padilla-Goodman, and I'm the Regional Director of the Southwest Region of the Anti-Defamation League. I am very excited to stand here this morning with you to urge the Georgia legislature to pass hate crime legislation in the upcoming session. I'm excited to be here with Representative Hansen, Representative Willard, the Coalition for a Hate-Free Georgia, and law enforcement officials, including GBI Director Vernon Keenan, Chief Lou Deckmar of LaGrange Police Department and the International Association of the Chiefs of Police, ASAC Matt Elcoke of the FBI, and Executive Director Frank Rotundo of the Georgia Chiefs of Police. Georgia is one of only 5 states in the entire nation that still does not have a hate crime law. Georgia is better than this, and it is time to show all Georgians and the nation that we take people's identities seriously and protect them. We will not allow bias and bigotry to reign free, and we believe that everyone should be who they are without fear of violence. It is time for Georgia to send a message to hate crimes victims and all Georgians that we stand with them and we will make sure that bias-motivated crimes are handled responsibly. The ADL has a long history of fighting for justice and standing up for those who are victims of hatred and bigotry. The ADL was founded in 1913, the same year that Leo Frank, the Jewish manager of a pencil factory here in downtown Atlanta, just a few blocks away from where we stand now, after a heavily biased trial, was kidnapped from the state prison in Milledgeville and driven to Marietta, where he was lynched. Lynching and bias-motivated crimes and violence have a long, all too familiar history in our country, and one that we can all agree has no place in Georgia's present or future. Hate crimes are different from ordinary criminal activity. The effects of hate crimes are felt well beyond the immediate victim. Hate crimes are felt by entire communities, and when they are not adequately addressed, entire communities feel isolated, disenfranchised, unsafe, and threatened. Hate crimes are message crimes. They are done to make entire communities feel unstable and scared. A cross burned on the front lawn of an African-American family's home. A swastika drawn on the front door of a Jewish synagogue. A man attacked for wearing a turban. These types of crimes make all members of those communities feel unsafe, and the effects reverberate and can have long-lasting impact unless they are addressed head-on. Unfortunately, hate crimes continue to tear at the fabric of our society. And ignoring this by not having a hate crime law exacerbates the problem. There are unfortunately so many recent examples. An African-American family holding a birthday party was terrorized with racial epithets and threatened with violence in Douglasville. Swastikas were scratched into the side of the Puppetry Arts Center in Atlanta. These examples and thousands of others highlight the unfortunate fact that bias-motivated violence in our nation is still a sad reality. Georgia needs a hate crime law because one hate crime is committed in this country every 90 minutes. Georgia needs a hate crime law because hate crimes have an impact that lingers and extends beyond the specific victim. Georgia needs a hate crime law because hate crimes raise tensions that can divide and polarize communities. While we cannot outlaw bias and bigotry, we can significantly improve how we respond to it. We can state loudly and clearly that Georgia is not a place for hate, and we care about our residents' most precious possession, their identities. Now is the time for Georgia to join the 45 other states in the District of Columbia in putting a hate crime legislation on the books. Thank you.
Good morning. I want to thank Representative Hansen for asking me to be here. I am proud to be here today as a Deputy District Attorney in Fulton County to support this hate crime bill. Representative Megan Hansen is propounding a bill that is nonpartisan. It does not involve politics, but rather core American and core Georgia values. As a prosecutor, but more importantly, as a human being, we are sensitive to crimes motivated around hate. This bill speaks to crimes motivated in our state against race, against color, against national origin, against sexual orientation, against religion, against gender identity, mental disability, and physical disability. One should never be targeted in our great state as a victim because of the skin tone God chose to cover them in, who they choose to love, or for any infirmity, whether it be physical or mental. These core American values have already been codified in 45 other states and the District of Columbia. 45 states and the District of Columbia have seen fit to criminalize various types of bias, motivated violence, or intimidation. As a prosecutor, I want to share with you 3 major cases that have occurred just here in Fulton County where we stand today. I'm proud to come from an office that prosecuted these crimes, and prouder to say I was given the honor of prosecuting one of the most heinous crimes perpetrated against an individual in our state because of believed sexual orientation. And I want to point out that one of those victims, Mr. Tolbert, is here this morning. I am sad to say that each of these 3 cases I will discuss was perpetrated against the victim for one reason and one reason only, due to their believed sexual orientation. This is reprehensible, it's unacceptable, and quite frankly, it's beneath the state of Georgia. Give me a moment to share these awful incidents in our state history. In 2002, Gregory Love, a college student at one of Georgia's gyms, Morehouse College, was severely beaten with a bat while taking a shower for the simple reason that he was believed to be gay. In 2012, on a city street in Atlanta, Georgia, 8 men violently attacked Brandon White, a young man on a city street, in the middle of the day while they yelled profanities and slurs to him because he was gay. Let me share with you the story of Mr. Tolbert. In 2016, this hard-working young man and his friend, Mr. Anthony Gooden, worked at a warehouse, and they had worked all night. When they came home from work, they were exhausted, as anyone would be. In the front living room of Mr. Gooden's house, his mother had a cot. So fully clothed, both men laid down to just simply sleep before they got up and started the rest of their day. The defendant in the case was the boyfriend to the mom, and he had repeatedly asked the family, hey, your son, he kind of seems gay, is he gay? And he was repeatedly told by that family, that doesn't concern you. That's not an issue for you. Well, this day when he came to the house and saw the men laying in the bed, to him, that was all the evidence he needed to perpetrate violence. So as those men slept, he went and found literally the largest pot in the house, the one you use for spaghetti. He filled it to its brim with water. As they continued to sleep, he waited for it to get to the level of boil. I hope someone here has made spaghetti and they know how long that would take. He then took that pot and carefully, so he didn't burn himself, walked into the next room where they were sleeping and pour this scalding water on Marquise Tolbert and Anthony Gooden. So much so that their clothes literally seared into their skin, and that they had 3rd-degree burns and required treatment for months. The truth is, neither Mr. Tolbert or Mr. Gooden will neither physically or psychologically be the same. And as they woke up in excruciating pain, so that there's no doubt it was a hate crime, he grabbed them by the arm, dragged them to the door, and said, "Get out of here with all that gay." This is unacceptable in Georgia. This hate crime is important because, first, it recognizes core Georgia values. It's not acceptable to commit a crime against a person because of who they are. Let's not forget who we are. Georgia is the state of dreamers, the home of Martin Luther King. We taught the whole world that hate is not acceptable. If you should decide in this county or this state to beat, to burn, to stab, to shoot, to intimidate a citizen simply based on hateful motivation, your sentence should reflect our core Georgia values and be enhanced. Today, I, Deputy District Attorney Fonnie Willis, and Paul Howard, the DA of this county, stand behind a hate bill in Fulton County. This is a courageous move by Representative Hansen, and it embodies core values. Georgia needs to move forward and join the other 45 states and let the world know we will not stand for citizens being victimized. We're not going to stand for it. We cannot be blind to the intentions of why violent crimes are perpetrated. Your intent to commit a crime matters. And we are here today to say Gregory Love, Brandon White, Anthony Gooden, and Marquise Tolbert, you matter. And all future victims will matter. I hear you, and the prosecutors and law enforcement communities and state representatives hear you. And we support you across this state. Because you're gay, you should never end up with this kind of damage. It's unacceptable. These are real people. These are facts. And they are ugly incidences that should be punished. And we thank you for your bill.
Good morning. I'm Lou Deckmar. I'm the police chief in LaGrange, Georgia, and also the president of the IACP, International Association of Chiefs of Police. Hate crimes and the profound damage they do to victims, families, and entire communities have been a significant concern of the IACP for decades. As far back as the late 1990s, IACP has taken a leadership role in addressing these crimes. First, holding a national summit on the issue, and subsequently producing and releasing our Responding to Hate Crimes, a police officer's guide to investigation and prevention document. In 2016, the IACP also produced the Investigation of Hate Crimes Model Policy to establish guidelines for identifying and investigating hate crimes and assisting victims and individuals and their communities. Sadly, however, the past has served only as a prologue to the renewed number and intensity of these crimes. In recent years and months, with far too many examples to cite, as I speak here today, I will only say that we must look beyond nationally recognized incidents such as Charlottesville and many other communities and campuses across our country where hate crime incidents and crimes are occurring. As we enter 2018, the IACP is again doing something about these heinous crimes. The IACP is working now with an influential partner, the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under the Law. In collaboration with the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law, we've begun a multi-phase, multi-year initiative to increase the capacity of the police and the communities they serve to respond successfully to these crimes and prevent future ones. At the end of this month, our Hate Crime Initiative Advisory Committee will convene at American University, bringing police leaders, justice officials, hate crime victims, advocates, and community members together to design an action agenda for key stakeholders. And I can assure you that action agenda will call on law enforcement to clearly identify these crimes and conduct thorough investigations, bringing the perpetrator to justice, and at the same time, providing strong support for victims, their families, and their communities. Once that action agenda is complete, IACP will deliver it to all of our 30,000 members and move to field aggressively this response to hate crimes. In the IACP's continued effort to effectively respond and prevent these hate crimes, members of the IACP have testified before the U.S. Congress on hate crimes and the need for federal programmatic and funding to support training and the creation of specialized units and task forces. Lastly, to reinforce our commitment to this issue, at our 2017 annual conference, our members adopted a sweeping resolution on hate crimes, calling on all our members and their agencies to prioritize and investigate any and all hate crime incidents occurring in their community. On behalf of IACP and the police chiefs of Georgia, I want to encourage the legislature to swiftly pass this important bill. Thank you.
Just want to quickly thank the Anti-Defamation League and their wonderful steps that they've taken to build such an impressive coalition that you see behind me. They deserve a round of applause in and of themselves. And thank you all for being here today as well to mark this monumental event that I look forward to working with all of our coalition partners and the rest of the legislature to get this bill passed. Thank you so much. We are still working out the final kinks of final issues of the bill to get a draft filed today, but we will release that on the, I think, ADL website, and then it'll go on the House website as well as soon as it gets filed. Thank you.